All right, well, hello world. My name is Ian Harrison. I'm the head innovation dude and co-founder at a company called SneakR, and we're a future fit company that drives augmented reality experiences for brands, and we future fit through driving branded experiences on custom footwear. Tonight and today, we're going to discuss how showing up and engaging looks like as the shift of the world drives to everybody having everything at once and options being at everyone's fingertips. So as brands, and as content delivery, how do we create that's inspiring and makes people choose that as their adventure? Without further ado, I'd like to introduce everything and everyone. So starting right to left, on the end we have Ed Rigg, and Ed has an amazing platform called RecDeck, and I'll let Ed introduce himself, if you don't mind.
Thanks so much, Ian. So yeah, my name is Ed Rigg, and I run a company called RecDeck. My background is filmmaking, writing, directing, and VFX supervising. And RecDeck came from a need of never knowing what my favorite people in the world were loving when it came to film and TV recommendations. I'd get home, I'd sit on the sofa, I would scroll Netflix or Amazon or Apple for hours and genuinely become annoyed at the state of discovery and curation in our industry. So RecDeck is a social first platform. We're all tribal creatures. We want to know what our favorite, our best friends and our family and the people that we admire in society, the tastemakers in our lives, like what are they watching? So RecDeck connects you with those people and you can curate your watch list across all streamers, social first. So opinions that matter to you, basically. And we've been going about 3 years, and we host events at all the major festivals. That's how we've been rolling out, and that's what brings me to South by.
Fantastic. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Becca Ruiz. I am the founder of Impact Snap, soon to be Post on Purpose, or POP. And we are a verification participation platform, turning everyday Instagram posts into real donations for verified nonprofits. I come from the corporate social responsibility space, and I always had trouble working with our marketing teams who they have the influence, they have the reach, they have the money a lot of the times. And so what I'm trying to do is really marry these two teams together so that we can be reaching more people, educating more folks on causes, and getting them to take a real action to make the world a better place.
Yep, he can hit move. He was high. My name's Jason Anderson-Ebner, or some people call me Jason the Professor. I run a local organization in Austin, Texas, known as College of Hip Hop Knowledge, and we're here to empower, enrich, and educate artists in the scene. We run a nonprofit that throws showcases. We're throwing our third official Dean's List this year at this South by Southwest. We went out to Sydney, Australia, and took some Austin artists with us for South by Southwest Sydney. We're hoping to get out to South by Southwest London because we're trying to kind of develop a cultural exchange program with South by where we bring different artists from different regions to different South by. Unfortunately, Sydney was their third year in their 3-year track, so they're not doing Sydney anymore, but they're still doing London, and I heard rumors, maybe Tokyo, so that would be cool, but yeah, and our goal is just, make sure artists know what a PRO is, how to get their money from their PRO, how to distribute properly, how not to lose their copyright and things, how to copyright properly, how to, do their accounting properly and their contract work properly, because that's a lot of the stuff I didn't know when I got into music when I was young, and I wish I would have known those type of things.
Those were excellent introductions. I appreciate each and every one of you being here today and sharing your story. And on that note, I thought, what a better lead off for this fireside to ask everybody's kind of unique perspective about South by Southwest. I know, Ed, I think this is your third year. Becca, I know this is your first. And Jason, this is your 18th South by Southwest, right? So coming from fan into presenter into organizer, right? And so that's, its own journey arc. myself, having grown up in Austin and now moved away over the last 2 decades and coming back down for these type of events, one thing that's revealing is that each year it's a unique experience. And I think seeing the way that brands show up is a unique experience. And that's sort of, in my mind, moderating this talk today, the direction I think that we should go. And, how do we show up now? How do we show up and prepare our brands, our presence, ourselves for how the world will embrace immersion, how it will embrace the fact that everybody has so many options at any given time. I mean, any one of us, first time or 18th time, can say that South by is an overwhelming plethora of deliverables. Depending on the content that you're trying to catch, how do you filter? How do you decide what's important to see? How do you decide what's important for you to show up for? Because we only have so much time in a day. We only have so much space in our energy and our space to be, relevant when we go to these things. So I'm really curious to hear, the takeaways from you a few years in, but not only a few years into this, but knowing that there is South by Southwest London. And I'd like to know if you're touching anything there, Ed. And then Becca, what is your takeaway so far 2 or 3 days into this experience? And Jason, as a third-year presenter and putting on an official showcase, what is it that you've sort of seen the arc to be? I guess we'll start down at the end and we'll move the same direction, if that's okay.
So this is my third South by, and for me, because my background in film and TV, and I'm building a tech platform, it's the perfect place to come hang out, see interesting movies, understand what programmers are thinking about, listen to filmmakers, and understand the problems that they're facing for RecDeck, and for learnings for RecDeck, and also myself. And so RecDeck itself has been growing by hosting events. So we host events, and then the way you go to our events is you just RSVP in the app. So we've built a community now of about 20,000 people across all aspects of the independent film industry, from filmmakers to sales agents to financiers and distributors. And RecDeck, we started here. So we started here by just tagging onto a friend's event 3 years ago.
Hold on. You're saying so RecDeck actually started in Austin at South by?
Well, we basically did the first test of could we get people to come through RSVPing on an event, and that kind of went well. And then last year we had a little spot downtown, and this year we've got a house, and every year our audience has got bigger. So for us, it's always good to one, get a sense of what the industry is thinking. And there's VCs here, there's tech, there's AI, there's everything here in art, which is in my world. And then at the same time, we're hosting. So we're actually running events, fringe events, but they're also growing. And this is the first time, in Austin, we've done panels. So we've got 2 panels tomorrow. For me, it's just a great sense check on the industry and to understand where things are going. And I think we'll look forward to coming for many years.
Okay, and before you pass the mic, is there any sort of impact or result or a checkbox that says, you know what, I showed up, I came to South by, this was accomplished? What does that mean for RecDeck?
Yeah, I think every time we get a little bit more established, and we run we've done Sundance, we've done Berlinale, and then March is South by. So it's a great it's not cold, it's spring. It's a bigger festival, and it's across all the genres like tech and entertainment and film that we the worlds that we play in. So the things for us is just growth and awareness right now. How can we get RecDeck to a place where people are talking about it and sharing RecDeck organically, and events are a big part of our strategy to do that. So we're better.
Great. And last thing, are you seeing maybe year over or even event over that continuation? Are you guys seeing downloads and you seeing engagement on your app?
Yeah, I mean, a challenge for us is and every consumer app is how do you stop the churn, right? So we see big spikes over the weekends where we host events, and then we'll see drop off because people are coming to our events and enjoying those. But then how do we educate the audience that we have into what we're actually doing and about.
That is the killer question.
Yeah.
And on that note, let's pass the mic to Becca from POP, aka Impact to Snap. So taking education into play and educating brands or impact organizations, philanthropy, nonprofits, what have you encountered over the last 48 hours of being here that have maybe proven your model and in a way that says showing up is the way to land what I need to do to drive impact at POP or Impact to Snap?
Yes, such a good question. And actually, what I was going to bring up was that I had the chance to go to an event hosted by the Impact Lounge today. And that is exactly the takeaway I'm having, is that I'm just getting reconfirmed with more data from organizations, from nonprofit organizations, foundations, research institutions, that people want to get involved. People, especially right now with this lack of trust and kind of fake news world, people are craving connection, they're craving community, they're craving an easy way to make a difference, and that's exactly what POP is offering. It's no behavior change. It's simply posting on purpose, using the campaign hashtag, and being part of a narrative, a story, a movement.
Okay, so because I know what that means, like I understand what you mean, but for those that might watch this later who are out, listening now, what does it mean to post with a purpose? How does using a hashtag connected with an impact organization or a charity or philanthropy, how does that all connect into a social media driven world that we're in? And largely, as people are here at South by hashtagging everything, capturing and live filming everything, how do we funnel, or how do you drive brand awareness funnel to capture those hashtags for good or post on purpose?
Yes, it's a really, really wonderful question. So I was just chatting with someone earlier about this. So thinking about an event like this where there's so many people and so many people are going to be posting, and there's tons of sponsors. You see their logos everywhere. They're plastered. But what does that mean? What's the meaning behind that? Is there any meaningful contribution that they have besides plastering their sponsor name on there? And so with Impact to Snap, every time you're going to post about this event, but you're connecting it to a cause that these sponsors care about. Not only are you becoming a part of their story, but they are getting the impact data that they need to be able to prove out, hey, we used X amount of money to engage Y amount of people, and that's how we make measurable change. So we need that proof, we need that data, and as a follower of POP or Post on Purpose, you'll be along that entire journey from, hey, all I needed to do was post a picture about this moment, to I helped fundraise $100,000 for Kids in Need, or whatever the cause may be.
Okay, and having come into this festival, which kind of captures film, entertainment, music, tech, have you found that there are both receptive audience, but then also receptive brands to what it is that you're doing?
Definitely. I will say I had the pleasure of watching a panel with the CEO of Feminist. That is a really large platform across a lot of social media channels. And they actually started out organically, just like a movement like Impact to Snap. And they also hosted an influencer who made it very clear that even though she has $1 million following, she is doing this because she wants to educate people. She wants to help people learn about her culture, where she comes from, to be able to destigmatize a lot of the thoughts and beliefs people have. And so that just confirmed for me, again, that there is a group, there is a market of folks that Impact to Snap can plug into very easily to amplify and activate impact.
I love that you use the word destigmify. And the reason I'm saying that is I think there is such a merge of all of these different industries and cultures and end product. And when you get them all in a room it helps you realize that as large and vast as the world is, we can likely find something to talk about, right? And so before I even pass the mic to Jason on an entertainment and arts industry level, I think both you, Ed, and Becca can attest to, as we're engaging and looking at film for purpose or post on purpose, or brands that are looking to get their content seen or engaged with in novel ways, I think both of you are in the right place at the right time. And that's sort of what I think South by defines. So the purpose of what we're talking about here, again, is showing up. And like, how do we show up that defines purpose, that defines action, that defines moving the needle a little bit? And I know even before I pass the mic to Jason here, he's run shows off South by, during South by many years. And, many artists have passed through the college of hip hop knowledge that he is the president of. And so I'd love to hear how, from film to impact to entertainment, how when all these worlds collide and we're all in these same rooms together, what is the purpose when we have these conversations, and how do we make it matter beyond the moment that they're happening in?
Well, so, I've seen South by shift its model and dynamic many times. It started as a one-week festival with just music, not even that large. It was a bunch of unknown artists, really, that were just out here to get discovered, and it was about bringing A&Rs here and, music discovery. And then it kind of morphed into this 2-week thing that was film and tech, or innovation, whatever you want to call, with music. And it kind of blossomed to where the film and tech and innovation overtook the music. And it's actually, it makes a bigger profit margin for South by now than the music portion does. And this year in particular, a local paper kind of posted it wrong and basically said, South by Southwest is over. There's no more music in South by Southwest. It's dead. It's over. It was very irresponsible. And it kind of got redacted and like, oh, well, we just, we misspoke. We didn't mean it was dead. They were just consolidating. Because what they really did is, I thought it was smart, honestly, is they consolidated it to 1 week. One reason out of necessity, because the Civic Center, it's gone. It's not there anymore. I don't know if you noticed. It's just gone. They demolished it. So they don't have one place to house everyone now. So it's a little more spread out this year. But not only that, I kind of felt like the two sides of it were always very segmented. You had the music and tech. They'd come here the first week, and they'd have a good time. And they might stay a little bit into the next week for the music. They wouldn't most of the time stay all the way through the last weekend when a lot of the music was going on. And the same thing with a lot of the record execs and the bigwigs. They'd go for the conferences that were earlier in the festival, and they wouldn't stay all the way through the end. So now they kind of consolidated it into this tight package where everyone's here. The tech and innovation people can go to, their panels all day. The film can have their premieres with the tech people here. The music can have their shows with the tech people here, and the film people going from the films to the music. There can be more like sync interlacing. There can be all sorts of more convergence going on that wasn't going on before. They were just, it felt like two separate festivals. It didn't even feel like one cohesive thing.
I love that answer, and I'm just going to jump in, moderator, experiencer, festival go-tour, and brand that's shown up a couple of times. I have to fully agree, and I think there is something to the cohesion that gets driven when you actually intermingle and you create the interoperability between brand, tech, film, entertainment, everything that this festival states to represent, but that was gate-kept or segmented by, okay, these days are this, these days are this, these days are that. For those of us that grew up here, that's me, that's Jason. South by started that way. South by started as house parties. South by started at different venues all over the city that created, intimacy. It created authentic moments that I think got lost when things got so segmented out, like tech is these days, film is these days, music is these days. Instead, let's take this fireside that we're on now. This is for cross-chasm de-risked industries that are all amalgamated and interoperable. Like during this week, we all find purpose to be here. We all find action and ripple and a reason to show up for a multitude of reasons. And I think the more that we can intermingle and the more that people can see that film touches music, touches tech, touches people, and vice versa, that there's lack of a need to go back to that old way. So back to showing up and back to the way that we all represent ourselves when there is now, instead of it being segmented, it's back to everything all at once. And we're in a world where it's choose your own adventure. And we're in a world where everybody has options on how they receive streaming content. They have options on how they feel impactful, from your organization to GoFundMe to you name it. And Jason, there's several ways that musicians might get found, spotted, incubated in this town. But I think regardless of there being options, it's how do we find ways to commonality, right? How do we connect? How do we find moments that say, this touches that, and this touches that, and this touches that, or I think I should introduce you to this person because they might lead to ripple that comes back my direction. So much like brand market fit, people market fit, product market fit, in this age going forward, I think it's collaboration over competition. And I think it's finding ways that we all have these tools in our tool bag that extend ways that we can be helpful to each other. And that's where, if not philanthropy, at least altruism extends itself so that everybody wins. So I guess the question I'm asking is, as we have these conversations and we go to these events and we go to these networking, conversations, where are you seeing where you bring value and where are you seeing value most? And I'd love to maybe start this way and we'll move down.
Well, I always stand by the principles of community, unity, and opportunity. So I'm always trying to, expand my community, which is the Austin artists I represent, find more opportunities for myself and them, and do it through unity in an ethical way. Because to me, the importance of any foundation of business is to plan to do it in an ethical way, whether you're running a nonprofit or whether you're running a for-profit business. Once you lose that ethical nature of it, you might make a quick dollar or do something, but ultimately nothing like that ever lasts in the long run.
That's a valid point. Okay, so before we move on, how do we handle quick ethics? Because, Becca, you're welcome to field this. How do we handle quick ethics? Because you're right, these are single-serving moments. We make people 5 to 15 minutes of time. We exchange with them. We hope that it's going to lead to business or lead to future conversation or I know a guy, right? So how do we handle quick ethics versus what our brand ethos is or what we want to make sure that we're delivering? Like, okay, and before I end, Ed, you have a platform. So as a platform level, that's a large scale. That's epic, right? Not emic. So you have to think about the content that's being promoted. I'm curious afterwards, like how do you filter what's profane versus sacred in a general level? So quick ethics, and then how do we figure out in those quick moments and as we adopt people onto our platforms, both you, Becca, and Ed, what sets those profane and sacred levels that says, you know what, this is not a business that makes sense for us to engage with, and how do you make that quick call in a moment like South by Southwest?
I think I can actually tie your previous question in a little bit about the value of Post on Purpose, Impact to Snap /Pop, because we're trying to solve something on the brand end, which is verifying, impact. Impact is something that's always been very qualitative, not quantitative. And so what we're trying to solve for them is give them actual numbers as to how many people they've engaged, how many people they've supported, and what those funds are doing at the end of the day. And so what I am learning through Impact to Snap is that there's threefold. There's the audience that is being able to make a value. They're able to post on purpose and declare a cause that they care about for free because it's being sponsored by the brand. And then on the nonprofit side, they're getting free visibility. We never charge a nonprofit. We're just trying to give awareness and give them a way to be fundraising through a support system. And then finally, for the nonprofits, brands, audience, oh no, we already said that. Nonprofit, brands, people that are actually posting.
There you go.
Exactly. And so what was the second question? I'm sorry. I was bringing in value, and then I was trying to
You're
bring
good.
in
No, the second
ethics
question
of
is in
it.
quick ethics. When what's the dichotomy of sacred versus profane? How do we decide in a quick moment who engages with our platform and makes sense to move forward with?
That's it. So I was trying to tie this verified impact. The reason that they need this information to be verified is because we do have to make sure that it's brand safe, that it is, not a bunch of bots just using the hashtag to raise funds. And that's where the use of AI comes in to be able to make sure that we are verifying that each post is adhering to the campaign guidelines so that we can make sure, okay, that is when we're going to actually release a brand-funded donation.
I love that answer. Ed, what does brand safe look like? Both, quick ethics when engaging at South by and networking, but in general when a movie or a show or a series or content in general approaches RecDec to be streamed or to be cultivated in a culture group. Is there brand safe that's applied?
So because we're an audience-first platform, the platform we've built, if a show has been released, it should be on RecDec. And we're all about people's opinions that So we connect people, and we haven't yet explored the, advertising and PR angle where we're engaging the studios to, kind of for them to understand where the audiences are for their shows. That's probably in our roadmap in a year or two. And then the moderation side of audiences' opinions, we are very hands-off because we're not a political platform or a Facebook. We're a place where if you think something's amazing, you should tell your friends. And so most of the opinions and reviews on RecDec are 4-star, 5-star reviews. Not everything, of course, but it's definitely something that the kind of moderation and the side of it, and also we're holding up artists and filmmakers, and so at the moment we're very hands off. As I say, if your film's been released, we want to find a space where you can find your audience. It does get into interesting territory at some point with, things which are a bit more controversial, or, I saw an amazing documentary on fast fashion here last year, and then there's also all sorts of documentaries on, the Middle East, and we're there that if that audience resonates with some people, they should find it. That's where we play. So
you mentioned just now you want to build a space where you can find your audience, and I think that's a huge anchor. So whether it's artists that are creating musical content and are looking to release new music videos, it's streaming live concerts, it's impact organizations, to Becca's direction, looking to get awareness content out and seen, or even to Jason's direction where there's maybe a tour coming up and there's content like that being filtered and made. So I think taking streaming out of it, taking network content out of it, taking feature out of it, does RecDec also provide a UGC or an independent creator platform to put streaming content? And is that something that you guys are working down?
Yeah, we're really interested in that. In our industry, there's a big problem. It's hard to get a film financed. It's hard to get a film made. It's hard to get something put together, which then goes beyond your immediate close connections, right? So if you have a sales agent, great. If you do it independently and you can get onto Amazon or a streamer, great. But apart from that, there's not many outlets for independent film. So if you don't get a deal, you're left with something that which has taken you a year, much more to produce, and it's very hard to know what to do with it at that point. So we have ambitions to really like plug that gap. So filmmakers can grow their own audience on RecDeck. They can. We want to get to a point where if they can't get a deal, as many can't, like upload their own content, set their own price. And we're speaking to partners at the moment about that, and then self-distribute. Self-distribute their own film. We as a platform, as I say, we are not going to bias any particular streamer. We're about the content itself, and that content finding the right audience. And in the independent world, there are so many niche topics which don't necessarily have a natural home on a big platform, and that's the gap that we want to try and fill in the next couple of years.
I see a partnership with Impact.
About the ethics? Did you know that? Oh, like do you like work with any like sync deals or stuff like that?
No, and like I think the music crossover of putting filmmakers and producers with independent artists who also want to get their work out there is something that we'd love to do long term.
Yeah, because I mean, so the way a lot of even music distribution models work right now, they're not very favorable for artists. Because, like there's platforms like DistroKid that a lot of people release under, and I mean, they take their copyright on it without them knowing it. Like, you can see it every time it's a DistroKid release. It'll say DK under the copyright. I don't know if they realize that or not. And then, even when you do get a distribution agent that gives you a percentage deal, I mean, they're taking 15% of your profit if you're doing well. At least, So, how would you fund your platform if you started with independent like that? Would you start like maybe an advertising model or like?
I think it would be very much down to the producers. So we have producers on our platform, and they are putting a film together. And at the moment, there are traditional like film composers who would score a film. Sure. But there isn't really a natural like pool of live musicians or new bands or new artists who are producing new music for those producers to listen to, because the traditional model is you just find a single composer.
So they more have composers they already work with, and they're like, hey, I need a dark, moody violin based track. Yeah, that's what I've seen a lot of too, is a lot of the sync deals, like there's somebody they mostly work with, and then they have these open pool services like Taxi or somebody like that, and really they're just pools to kind of take your money and not really put your music anywhere.
I appreciate that dialogue. So would you say, Ed, it's a bit of a matchmaking, like that you would have producers that create content that artistry might be looking for, or that might be aligned and findable through a social communication channel on RecDeck, or am I?
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is like, an evolution of where we need to go, because on the one hand, we're a consumer tool to create your watch list from opinions that matter to you. But then the events that we do, Sundance, South by, Berlin, Cannes, Tribeca, AFM, London, we have built up a filmmaker audience. So the next challenge for us is like, how can we serve the audience that we've built up, and putting together like opportunities, whether it's music sync or whether it's just collaboration. That's a big part of what we're doing at RecDeck House, which is our event here. We're doing it tomorrow, just so that filmmakers can be exposed to new ways of getting their stuff made. And once they have their stuff made, when we're a bit bigger, we want to be like, right, we know we have the data on where your audience is, because people have told us the shows they like. So how can we take your show, the film you've produced, and directly find the audience, the fans that we know are going to love it? That's basically where I want to get to in the next couple of years.
I love that. All right, Becca, so next question to you. As you find creators or, self-brands that are looking to put their artistry connected to impact organizations, to Ed's point, how might you do matchmaking through Pop or Impact to Snap to say, you know, there's this creator that cares a lot about recycled plastics, right? Like plastics and microplastics are a big deal to this person for a multitude of reasons. Inversely, there is some impact organization that is cleaning water, desalinating it, and taking out, you know, microbes and things that are contaminants within there. How might your platform, A, connect those two, and then how might, at an event like South by Southwest, as we're showing up for it, in a world of everybody doing so many different things here, how might you connect those dots?
Yes, this is exactly why we are changing our brand. So changing from Impact to Snap to Post on Purpose or POP, because we don't want to be seen as just a SaaS platform that's helping you market. We want to become a community that truly believes in using social media with more intent and posting, you know, on purpose. And so as part of the platform, the way it works is a brand would go in, create an account, create a campaign, and we use a charity API. So we have a directory of vetted nonprofits. So any brand can find a cause area, say they care about the environment, they care about LGBTQ plus rights, immigration, what have you. They can search by that category and find an aligned nonprofit that they are willing to do the fundraising match for. And then from there, they simply, you know, create the campaign. It goes live. It goes live on Instagram as well as our site, so anybody can join in on the challenge. So we're really trying to build this ecosystem, again, of nonprofits, brands, and the people that want to, you know, make a difference.
Look, I love all of that. How might people jump in and join at an event like South by? Like, how might people show up and join in a campaign live? How does someone pop?
Great question. I was actually just chatting with you, Ed, about how we are bringing an activation to life through an event such as South by Southwest, but it's a little different. It's for a film premiere. So instead of, you know, having a percentage of ticket sales from an event or a film premiere or, you know, a gala go to a charity, why wouldn't you get people to pop? Why wouldn't you get people to talk about it, educate their family and friends, while also being incentivized with that micro donation that will be guaranteed, you know, to go to a vetted nonprofit. So, yeah.
Makes total sense. So, Jason, as both an artist incubator, but then, you know, a nonprofit yourself, how might you align those two with your artistry to say, look, we're going to go do Habitat for Humanity or Build on Wheels or XYZ thing as a label, as artists? How might you connect those dots to say, drive this engagement campaign to this charitable organization that either CHHK is connected to or your artists are connected to? And then how might you convince them that this is a win and not a loss, because that showing up really drives more ripple than not?
I mean, I think that comes back to, you know, community outreach and some of the programs, you know, we already do. We run campaigns ourselves, and then, you know, we've worked with local charities like Our House and a couple other charities to basically throw, you know, free shows for them and connect artists to the cause. And if you can throw a show for them and they have, you know, donations come out and support, it's pretty much the easiest way music can intertwine with nonprofits is in charity shows. We did a couple shows with TOOF, which is a bigger local foundation for the homeless, the Other Ones Foundation. And I personally, with my construction business, I work with a business, Community First, that builds tiny homes for homeless and disabled. And there's a lot of outreach programs you can do there where, you know, people just come out and put a house together. It's super simple, and stuff like that always, as an artist, makes you look better if you're tapping into the community that you're drawing resources from. If you're not a part of the community you're drawing resources from, then there's no reason for them to give you any more resources.
I agree. All right. So that touches on a couple of things that you said makes you look better. So I'm going to pass the mic to Ed on this one. So if you don't mind passing that down to Ed there. And vanity metrics. I think it's undeniable, good or bad. A brand wants to be seen that they're doing good. Their impact needs to be measurable. There needs to be a matrix to it. So my question, I guess, and then, to kind of bring it all back before we wrap up here, is part of your platform, or could part of your platform, Ed, be that there are producers like, boom mics and directors and camera operators that could show up to these events that Becca, for example, might sponsor from Pop, or that Jason might have from a philanthropic artist exposure event, where all of these things sort of measure and marry together from these type of events like showing up at South by Southwest, where there really is an ecosystem that gets driven from content captured, purpose behind it, and the message that's being driven. And so I think that's a really good way to wrap this session, is to say, in this world of everything, everywhere, all at once, and trying to figure out how we do the most while we're here, like lean in, show up, do work, because we only get one time in this skin suit, regardless of what's next. So how do we put that all together in a way that makes sense, both, what do we say, quick ethics, right? But then also impact ripple, because both matter. Like, it matters that we're having these conversations with everybody in the room here, and people that take away from it later is grand. But it also matters, like, while we're here, how much can we leave behind? So I ask, and I leave everybody with this question: what is it that we're leaving behind with what we're doing? Ed?
Yeah, I mean, the collaboration is like really interesting, and we're always looking for ways to support the filmmakers on our platform. So like, just by way of an example, like our next event at Cannes, we are like seeing if we can do maybe like a 24-hour hackathon with AI creators, meeting filmmakers who don't necessarily use AI that much. So can we bring two people together in teams, and what can they create in 24 hours? So like, maybe there's an impact angle that we can think about as a theme, and then maybe, do those 1 or 2 minute films get posted about and to the audiences that those filmmakers have already built. And then maybe there's a music edition as well, where we can give those guys a pool of interesting music which they can use for their 1 or 2 minute films. So like, yeah, we're always looking for like opportunities which like speak to traditional filmmaking, because that's our community, but also the future. AI is here, and it's changing the game like incredibly quickly, and we can't shy away from that. So yeah, would love to like keep that conversation going, and yeah, see everyone in Cannes.
I love that answer. Great. Awesome. Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, I think what I definitely want to leave behind with Post on Purpose, or POP, is just a new resource for nonprofits, for cause-driven organizations to get the message out. I feel like there's lots of organizations out there that have the marketing teams, they have the funding, Red Cross, World Wildlife Fund, large ones you've heard about, but what about the causes of a disease you've never heard about, or grief counseling, where, the things that we need to normalize seeing every day in our lives, on our feeds. So yeah, giving that resource and being a free resource, especially during these times when we know lots of science and other causes are being defunded. I want to be a resource for folks so we can continue the work.
I love that. Jason?
Well, I mean, I know you always say, man, we are what we leave behind. Ultimately, that's all we are. I'm just trying to leave the industry slightly better than it was when I entered it. And if I can help one artist, great. If I can help 10 artists, better. If I can help 100 artists, as many artists I can help, the better. And getting people to buy in to that, there's enough food on the table for everyone. Like, nobody has to cannibalize the industry. Like, there's plenty of food for everybody. There's plenty of interconnectivity. You can do business ethically, and everybody can make money. Like, you don't need to do the things you're doing. And if we can change that culture a little bit in the industry, I think I'd be happy with what I left behind.
Man, I love that. Well, I want to thank everybody, our audience out there, everybody listening and streaming. Again, our esteemed panel guests, Ed Rigg, Becca Ruiz, Jason Anderson-Ebner, myself, Ian Harrison. And I just leave you all with this. Again, this is a we over me scenario in a world of chaos, in a world of uncertainty. How do we show up? How do we push the needle just a little bit? And how do we leave a little bit of impact behind? Thank you all.